come with you when you go. Because I knew the moment I stopped, she was really gone.
That is so sad.
Welcome to this video. My name is Christian from Beyond Premiere, and episode 5 from season 4 is titled What a Long Strange Trip It's Been. And from all the episodes this season and in the show, this has to be in the top 10. This is the episode where the show finally opens itself and starts giving answers, finally, but in the most fun way possible. If we see this episode, yes, we're finally getting some details, but the answers themselves bring a completely different problem, but even more questions. This episode, things are happening simultaneously throughout the town. We have Jade on the mushroom trip with Boyd, which first, all of it is insane because Boyd is really saying, okay, let's do this. Let me be your guide while you're in the middle of this cursed town. But it was all in Jade's head, which was an incredible twist. Then we have Ethan, Tabitha, and Donna surviving the new puppets. We have the puppets coming out of the water. Then we have Marielle saying she can hear everyone who died.
Even after we die, we are still trapped here.
This is a huge line, huge part of the episode. We also have Henry drinking and singing. Then we have Victor trying to deal with what happened to Miranda. And by the end, Jay says he knows how to save the children.
I know how we can save the children.
All of this is huge, but the question is, can we trust what he knows? Can we trust what he saw in his visions? Because the next episode is already setting this up in a huge way. Minor spoilers if the synopsis for episode 6 says that Boyd and Jade are going to be at odds over whether they can trust the knowledge in Jade's head, and this episode explains exactly why. That's going to be a huge problem because Jade gets huge answers by the end of the episode, but the answers may be coming from maybe the man in yellow or something from inside the town. The town knows how to manipulate people, so maybe. But let's break down episode 5, what it answers, what the ending means, and where I think season 4 is headed. After this episode, the show is telling us the town is not that simple. Yes, it's a story, but now it's saying it's a nightmare.
He said they gave him nightmares, so he threw them in the lake.
It looks like a system that takes what people feel and makes it real. Welcome, and let's begin. The most important aspect of this episode, and that is Jade, his mushroom trip. Because the huge thing about the episode is that Jade never physically goes anywhere. This was the huge twist of the episode.
What a twist!
There's hints that look like it's not really real, but by the end we're surprised that it was all in his head. I honestly did not saw this coming. All this time he was sitting in the room in the post office. The best part of this is that Boy was right there with him, not even in his trip, and he was just watching him. That he goes to places that are more real than anything else in the episode. That's what makes this episode the best of the season, and in my opinion, the best of the show in general. Because this tells something about how From works in different cases. Because nothing, as we have seen, is not what it seems. I mean, think about it. Before Jade gets the big mythology, the town gives him a painful truth. That's what a version of him is saying, like when he was young.
Answers you sought come wrapped in painful truths.
He asked to show him what he used to know, show him how he can help them leave, and the first thing he sees is himself as a young kid, but also another version of him providing blood. I believe this is the first version of him, but more important than this is what he sees throughout the trip. Starting with the spiders. We don't know what they are, but I believe that maybe they're Jade's fear, and that maybe they became real like the puppets. We saw him in Victor's drawing, so maybe Christopher was afraid of spiders. We know Jade in season 1 told stories of his grandmother. Jade says,
She died when I was 12. I had to come back to the States.
and this is such an important scene because Jay wants the answers, his internal feelings, gives him pain first, meaning the town doesn't give you the information cleanly. It makes you feel it first, in a way that's horrible. This connects to music, and we know that music has been everywhere in the show. We have the music box, we have the U-box, we have the song Que Sera Sera. We have Jay finding the bottle tree as music, Miranda's violin, and now it's Christopher's violin as well, maybe. Victor's mother using music when he was scared, and now we have Jade as a child playing music, because if he stops playing, then his grandmother is really gone. I think it's about acceptance in the episode. I mean, we can see it clearly with Henry, with acceptance, wife died, and now with Jade. That changes as well how I see Jade in music, because more than a character, he had a family, and a family that he loved.
I grew up in France with my grandma. The day my grandmother died.
And we can relate to that. And if we think about music, we know that music feels like a cheat code. Like, okay, the numbers are note. Jade plays a song. The song unlocks the answers.
12 notes in a scale, right?
A through. And now we can see here this moment where the emotional feeling of music, where it's tied to death, to pain, and to saying goodbye to life in general, is tied to the moment he could not let go. It connects perfectly to the town as a place you cannot let go, as in every version of Jade played the violin or had music around them. This makes me think that maybe the feeling and the reason that they're in the town is that all the characters in the town cannot let something go. And if every version of Jade played the violin or had music around them, then we can see why music is one of the things that survives reincarnation. The bodies changes, the lives change, but some things keep coming back, including the symbol, the children, visions, and now music. This is why the grandmother scene is so simple and beautiful at the same time. It looks like a personal memory, but in From, personal memories are never personal. They're always keys. Then young Jade tells him, you cannot choose your memories. And this line connects to everyone in the episode. I mean, Victor cannot choose what memory he remembers, and that's why he draws. Tabitha cannot choose what past life memory comes back, like we saw with the puppets, and how it just randomly remember what they are in the lake. Marielle cannot choose what type of suffering she hears and remembers, and Henry cannot choose to skip over the years Victor was gone, and now accepting is hard. Ethan cannot choose to make the lake of tears be real.
I'm sorry we couldn't save you. That is so sad.
It's positive acceptance, but it's also painful acceptance. Everyone is being forced to remember in different ways. That's the huge theme in the episode. We know that in queuing means remember. The kids have been saying it for a long time. And this brings us to Marielle, because Marielle in this episode is also getting information, comes through suffering. She talks about the ambulance, the chamber, the radio, and how she could hear everyone who ever died there. This is huge. Every single person, all the pain and horror going through her. Then Sofia says, maybe God chose you to hear their suffering. And this is so funny because come on now. And it's also where I have to stop, because why is Sofia always making suffering sound normal and religious? Calm down, girl. With Kenny, she used that Achan story. With Sarah, she knows how to use Gale them, how the voices work. With Abraham, she talks about a father being tested with his son. With Marielle, she says, maybe God chose you. I mean, Sofia does something really interesting in this episode. She tells Marielle that God chose her as a prophet, and suddenly the suffering people already going through start sounding like it has a reason. The dark Abraham priest theory makes more sense now. He shows up when people are breaking and provides them faith and meaning and the word of God to explain why it was happening to them. It looks like religion was the original language of the bargain. Pain is the price, and the people pay for it because somebody told them it means something, even calling now Marielle prophet.
Maybe God has chosen you to hear their suffering.
If the original town sacrificed their kids because something promised them that they would live forever, someone had to sell them that idea. Someone had to make it sound like it was worth something. Someone had to make the worst thing possible and put meaning on top of it. That's Marielle. I think he's the decision maker of the bargain, Fatima says in episode 1. And the huge line from Marielle is when she says, there's something old here, something ancient, and it's feeding off our suffering. And even after we die, we're still trapped here. That line changes a lot in the show and is huge. Because people dying from, we have seen it, but now it looks like they're not gone. Father Kadri dies, and Boyd still see him. Abby died, and Boyd still see her. Tom died, and Jade saw him. And Jim dies, and we already have questions about whether he's a ghost or if the Marielle is using him. And the kids have been dead for centuries, but they're still walking around saying remember. Even the boy in white.
Freaky little kid in white.
So maybe Marielle is saying in the scene, why? Because the only thing that's a possible escape, which is dying, is not an escape. The town keeps something trapped, but what? Maybe memory, maybe pain, maybe a piece of their soul, but something stays. And if something stays, then the town can use it against them. That's why I think Jim can come back as a ghost or something else, connected to the man in yellow or the town, because the show is now saying even after dead, they don't get to leave. And then Jade finally sees the people from his visions and who they were. And this is where the episodes goes insane and huge. The people Jade has been seeing since season 1 are not random spirits or hallucinations from the town. They're him. Well, the last versions of him, including Christopher, lives that he lived in this place many years ago. Many of them have stories of the town. This confirms that reincarnation was real. It's no longer an idea. Before, we knew Jade and Tabitha were connected to Christopher and Miranda. We knew they were there before. We got this reveal in season 3. We also knew the children wanted to remember, but this episode shows different versions of Jade. Jade sees them and realizes those were lives he had lived in the town, but the most mind-blowing part is how they died. died, they were not killed by the creatures, and yet the cycle is repeating the same thing. But why? Because the monsters are the obvious threat, but they're only the small part of that. The people became part of the cycle, part of the bargain in a way, and they will do the same thing again and again, something that we did not knew. Once the town learns the truth about who Jay is, that the children are calling for him, first it looks like they're gonna blame him, then they're gonna hate him, then eventually they will kill him. This is what keeps me thinking about the episode. That line is huge because it explains Christopher. It explains maybe what happened with Miranda. It explains why Victor has so much trauma around truth, around pictures, around what people did before the massacre. It looks now that the town doesn't only attack people from the outside, it turns people against each other. And the one person who might have the answers, this being Jade and previous Christopher. But why is it worse for Tabitha? Well, you have to think about that she's killed by the monsters. So it's the opposite. We have seen, she was killed by Smiley. It looks now that the town doesn't only attack the people from the outside, it turns people against each other. This connects back to Sofia and the Achan story from episode 3. Sofia tells Kenny the story of Achan, the one person who steals and the community pays for it, and the community turns to that one person. At the time it sounded like a Bible reference, but now we see the same connection with Jade. The town finds a person connected to the town, blames them, and kills them. But with Jade, the tragedy is not that he's the villain or doing anything wrong. He's the only person trying to save the children. So what is From doing here? It's showing us that the cycle goes past the supernatural. It's mostly human. The original people sacrificed the children because they wanted to live forever. Human. Later cycles do the same thing in a different form. Human. They sacrifice the only person closest to the truth because the truth becomes too painful. Again, but why? This is why it looks like the man in yellow doesn't always have to kill people himself. We see it perfectly with Abby. He can drop the truth in their heads and the town, or everyone, let them tear each other apart. And this connects directly to the line he says to Jade, the answers you look for come wrapped in painful truth. That line explains the entire season and this episode. Jade's visions is giving him truth and answers. He's giving it to him in a way that hurts him. Maybe could break him like Christopher, makes him think like the cycle cannot be changed. They don't get to leave. And this connects with Victor drawing because we know he draws things so the pictures remember. If people forget, pictures remember. If people die, maybe the town remembers. Everything can be looked this way like a memory container. The drawings, the songs, the stories, the botany, the symbol and the lake, and now the bodies. All of it stores something. Now speaking of things becoming real, we have the lake. Ethan wanted the Lake of Tears because he wants to believe Jim can be healed or found or reached somehow. Ethan is a kid, but since season 1 he has to understand the town is a story. He says it's not a puzzle, it's a story. And once they figure out the drawings as a story, they will know what to do next. So Ethan in the Lake of Tears now maybe is a story location. A quest location is a place where something impossible can happen. But this is From, so instead of the lake giving them answers, the lake gave them bodies, the puppets, these dolls, things that look like scarecrows. But even Roger says maybe people put them in the lake to keep something down from coming out. This is such a From idea because the thing Ethan thinks is hope. Now it looks like it has horror underneath it, a children's story on top, ancient nightmare underneath the water. And then Tabitha remembers. She remembers that those were hers. She was playing with them, and she says a man came and took them because they gave him nightmares, and he threw them in the lake. And then one day his nightmares came out of the lake. This is one of the biggest ideas in the episode because it's telling us that nightmares can become real in the town, and this is not new. Elgin had the water dream and woke up like the dream touched the real world. Boyd had the music box nightmare spreading to other people. Tabitha had nightmares of this place as a child, and then ends up there. We even have one perfect example when Sarah says,
"What if that really is Nathan's nightmare out there? Become part of the forest."
This connects again to the spiders. Victor draw things and the drawings preserve truth, but maybe they became real as well. The children pour their hope into the roots, and that hope became the symbol on the faraway tree. It could be the same way with fear. Instead of a faraway tree, so the big thing is that From takes what is inside people and gives him a new form. Hope becomes a tree. Fear becomes something in the lake with the puppets. Music becomes a key, and so on. Suffering becomes food. Yummy to the man in yellow. That's why the puppets are important. It looks like they're not random monsters of the week. They're proof of how the town works. Tabitha says that a man was scared of them. He threw them into the water, but the fear didn't die. They turned into a real thing, so that's horrible. and Tabitha remembering how to deal with them is important. It looks like she's remembering new things, but the memories are not at the same time, and memories from her past life was useful in real time. It saved them, so Jade remembers the answers, but Tabitha remembers from a different angle, because the episode is doing something I love and why it's my favorite. We have Jade and Tabitha who are both reincarnations, but they're remembering in completely different ways. We have Jade remembering through dreams and those symbols. Now we have Tabitha remembering through the flashes, places, and objects. This is why them are important in the series, and this connects to the ending of the episode. Jade says he knows how to save them, the children, but the question is how? How does he know that? He knows it because the trip showed him something, but what? The past life were inside that journey. The children were inside that trip. In this sacrifice chamber was also inside that trip. So Jade did not choose the path was chosen for him. We see the kid inside the stone, so maybe it looks like he has to do something with the kid. We see the bones behind him, so maybe this is connecting. I mean, there has to be a reason why they show the bones and when they show the kid, so this is why Boyd is going to doubt him in episode 6. And in the trailer, Jade says the following:
Looking for answers. I found answers. This is our shot.
I mean, Boyd is gonna have his doubts. We have seen that Boyd has seen this place give people things that look like answers but are really trapped. This makes the next episode interesting because the synopsis says Boyd and Jade are at odds over whether they can trust the knowledge in Jade's head, and deeply troubling news from the settlement makes its way back into the town, meaning Jade is coming back with the answers, but at the same time, Boyd is about to hear that Roger died and the possibility about so something is gonna get loose, and the settlement is now not safe because what did Jade just learn? Every time the town finds out who he is, they turn on him. So if he comes back and says, I know how to save the children, and then the bad news arrive from the settlement, are the people going to listen, or are they going to repeat the same cycle, or they're going to ignore this? And that's what's happening with Boyd this season. It's already broken. We're seeing a different side of him. He's not the same Boyd who had hope. We saw him in the previous episode, especially what happened with Achan and Fatima reaching a breaking point, mentally and physically. After all, he hurt Achan and it caused a notice, and maybe that's what's going to happen with Jade, and that's why the truth is dangerous now. Now, another part of the episode we need to discuss is Henry and Victor, because the scene with Henry drinking and singing is sad, but it's also connected to the bigger themes of the season and the show. Alcohol is a huge theme from, especially with fathers. In season 1, Frank was drunk and his family died. Boyd even tells him that a man protects his family. We have a father with the backstory of a drunk father and the dead kid. Jamie even talks about his dad being a drunk. And now we have Henry drinking, and the show is not doing that just because. We have seen how alcohol is tied to fatherhood, failure, and guilt, and the moment a father cannot carry the pain. And going back to the beginning of the show with Frank, we already had the scene with Kenny and his dad playing chess. That scene always felt like a small character moment, but now I think it matters even more because the show keeps using this normal father moment and placing them next to pain and suffering. This is why the scene matters with Henry. It goes from beyond a sad song into a sad scene, and Victor dealing with all of this. And also another part of the episode, and no more story walking for Julie because she's gonna stop because it ran this like, hey, this is gonna affect you in a different way. And Sofia through all of this is hearing this like, hey, yes, finally, that's good, because I imagine that Sofia, Man in Yellow, doesn't want Julie to do this. So that's why episode 5 is huge. It confirmed Jade reincarnation. He recognized them as himself. It confirmed that people will kill him. The bodies were not torn apart. It also confirmed that nightmares can become real, can turn into something real, and also that Tabitha remember how to stop them. So what are your thoughts on this episode? This is a breakdown of episode 5. I'm gonna go ahead and discuss what's gonna happen in episode 6, 7, and 8, and some details about them. No spoilers here besides the synopsis provided by Rotten Tomatoes and what we can expect from the next episodes. Okay, so episode 6 is titled The Heart is a Lonely Hunter, and the synopsis said Boyd and Jade find themselves at odds over whether they can trust the knowledge in Jade's head. Deeply troubling news from the settlement makes its way back into the town. Then we have episode 7 of From, Best Laid Plans. As Tabitha and Jade's traveling history is brought to light, things begin to unravel for another resident in town. Boyd wants to test a dangerous theory. Episode 8, Heavy's the Head. A dangerous plan takes shape. How much Boyd is willing to risk for the chance to get everyone home. Fatima and Henry find themselves at two very different and disturbing crossroads. Victor helps Tabitha and Ethan prepare for their worst. So that's the breakdown of episode 5. What are your thoughts on it? How excited are you for what's to come? My name is Christian from Being Premiere, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, one.